Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. The Rays are down to the final out of their season. It is a good evening to you, and how you be. William Haynes here, you there, here at 11:54 late on this Sunday night. The William Haynes Show, as always, is live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. A bit different of a format for tonight's show. We're not going to preview Game 6 because there's an off day in between, and I want to wait until we get more information. I don't believe we have a Dodger starter set for Game 6. We could assume it would be Tony Gonsolin, maybe in another opener-type role, but we don't know for sure. Of course, with Dave Roberts, you never know what's up his sleeve from a managerial standpoint, and maybe just allow myself to take a step back from tonight and kind of collect the thoughts on where the team is and everything like that. So who knows how long the show will run. I know we've gone maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours for this World Series. It might just be a tight hour. It may be even less. It all just depends. With that being said, I don't really have a whole lot to open the show with. We're live, within 10 minutes after the final out. You want, off-the-cuff takeaways. I thought Glasnow, I thought it was actually quite remarkable what he was able to do. You throw 34 pitches and give up 2 runs in the first inning, you figure he's toast. And he ends up getting through 5 innings of just 4 runs. With the bullpen, where it was at with the last couple days, thought that was pretty big. You didn't have to use Anderson. I know it's in a losing effort. You just used Castillo for 4 outs. So with the off day tomorrow, the good news is Game 6, if you can win it, and then in a Game 7, it's all hands on deck. You can use Anderson for probably 2 innings in both of those games. You can use Castillo for maybe 2 innings in both of those games, because it's not like the ALDS and the ALCS where it's still all hands on deck, but you have to kind of be mindful because you could be playing baseball in a couple days after that. Now, you lose another game, you're not going to be playing baseball until February, so empty the tank. So I think from that standpoint, the Rays' outlook, I think, is more positive. I think than maybe we feel right in this moment. It stings a little bit. A big talking point for me over the last couple of days is just if the Rays can just get a surplus of base runners and maybe half of them score, then they'll be okay. Well, it didn't quite go according to plan. They get 3 walks, 7 hits, so a total of 10 base runners, and they only scored 2 runs. But mind you, I believe it was 6 innings, they got the leadoff base runner, and usually when that happens, I think the leadoff base runner in just in MLB games, the large sample size that is, probably score, maybe half of the time? Well, You get 6 chances and 1 comes across to score. We know with the runners at you get the runner at third with no outs in the fourth, and you get no runs out of that. That to me is kind of the game, and then the response is not good because Max Muncy hits a home run in the very next inning, and that's really been the case in the series. Whenever the Rays get something going, and this time they didn't even score a run, Dodgers take the momentum right back and kind of make that moment theirs. They continue to do that, so I don't really know how you counter that. I think you give up 4 runs to this Dodger team. I don't think that's too bad. Give up 6 hits. You walk 5. That's not great. Glasnow contributed to 3 of those. He also had 3 wild pitches, which was the first time that a pitcher has done that in a World Series game, and then 1 from Loop and 1 from Thompson, and neither of those resulted in runs. So not too bad if I'm looking at that right. Yeah, that comes out to 5 walks, the back of the napkin math. So with that being said, again, that's pretty much all I have to say. And then as well, 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position were the Rays, and they leave 5 men on base. Would love to get some callers in here. Would love to get some of your thoughts, just some different perspectives. You want to vent? That's fine with me. Your thoughts will be on the record and respected, of course, as always. Number to call is 877-566-1020. We have a line open and internationally toll-free, no cost to you, of course. If you want to talk Rays, you want to maybe talk maybe how you would like them to strategize for Game 6. It will be, I guess, already officially announced Blake Snell against potentially Tony Gonsolin. That's his slot, but it looks like it's going to be another opener day, and I think that gives you a lot of optimism as well. I'm not sure about the ERA, but the Rays have done a generally good job at getting to the Dodgers bullpen, which I think we all could identify going into the series was the most important thing that the Rays could do. We know the Dodgers team is fairly complete. They have a very good starting rotation with Kershaw and Buehler, and I know they've kind of rotated guys throughout the regular season. I know Gonsolin, Ross Stripling they traded. I'm just shooting. Dustin May started some games, but their starting rotation is good. Their lineup, top to bottom, is really good and not quite like we've seen where it's power threats really 1 through 9. No one's a week out. Everyone runs the bases pretty well also. I mean, a catcher that almost stole a base, Austin Barnes, and he ended up walking twice today, the 9-hitter. So that just goes to show you. And the number 7-hitter, Jock Peterson, hits a home run as well. So there's really nowhere where you can get an easy out. And you just got to pitch a complete game, and I don't mean that by a 9-inning complete game. I just mean you can't really take any batter off, anything like that. And I don't know. I think when you give up 4 runs, the blame shouldn't necessarily be shouldered on the pitching and on the defense. When I think going into the series, we knew that the Dodgers are going to be capable of that, and with the amount of runs that they've scored in other games, I mean, they score 8 in Game 1. 4 in Game 2, 6 in Game 3, 7 in Game 4, and now 4 tonight. I mean, that's even better than par for the course. You're actually doing a little bit better in that regard. So I know this team wasn't built to score a lot of runs, but you want to bring home the trophy. There's a reason why the Rays weren't favored to win this series, but obviously, that never really matters. Any team can win when you put it in a best of 7. That's why they play 7 games to really determine who is the better team. And who's to say who's the better team right now? It seems like the Dodgers have done a better job, I think, of seizing the moment. The way that they came back within 20 hours or so after that walk-off Game 4. That's never an easy thing to respond to. And they end up putting up 2 runs in the first inning and kind of putting all that stuff to bed, I think, pretty immediately. I mean, I was on the couch, ready to go. I thought the Rays were going to be able to ride the wave. Was not necessarily the case with Glasnow. The curveball wasn't sharp, and it's been that way for a while. I wasn't necessarily on the train of let's blame the Game 5 start against the Yankees on 2 days rest and the way that he was used. I don't With the short season, I mean, you play basically a third of what's a regular 162-game season. I mean, we're at this is like coming off the All-Star break in a normal season, so I didn't really buy into that kind of fatigue stuff. But who's to say? He just doesn't look sharp right now. His fastballs, again, the velo is there, but the location, not necessarily. Again, I don't know if conviction is the right word, because I'm sure in his mind he does have conviction with his pitches. He's a guy that's usually pretty calm, cool, and collected on the mound. And I'm not ready to do this yet, and I feel like I'm almost a little bit irresponsible to kind of bring this up, because I think it's too early. But we're getting to that point where maybe it's a postseason thing for Tyler Glasnow. I kind of had it in my head, I guess jotted it down on the metaphorical notepad. It was just, a bit that I was going to do. Basically, Tyler Glasnow starting another Game 5 in the state of Texas. We all remember Game 5 of the ALDS a season ago. Maybe the Astros were stealing signs. Maybe it really was just Glasnow tipping pitches, but he gave up, 4 runs in that first inning. And another Game 5 in the state of Texas. I don't know how far Arlington is from Houston. I guess that's my bad for not knowing the geography, but kind of looked like the same start to me. Although, again, I led the show off. Give him a little bit of credit for being able to bounce back, because the Rays did need some innings. And I think the leash was, I would say the leash was a bit shortened, because the Rays were able to bounce back in the third inning with 2 runs of their own to make it 3-2. But Glasnow ended up pitching 2 more innings after that, and that was right at 100. He threw 102 pitches, so it wasn't like he could have gone a whole lot longer, and he finished off, it was going to be the bottom of the order, but a couple of lefties down there. So they had Loop come on and get some outs in the next inning to get those lefties, and went from there. Again, number to call, 877-566-1020. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to take a quick break just to try and get the show out there on the various social medias, try and draw in some more listeners and see if we can't get some callers in here. Again, one more time, number to call during the break, a line open for you is 877-566-1020. We'll be back in a minute.
Hey, sports fans! William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBCStream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think, so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCStream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 66. Sports Radio
HBC. At 12:05, we are back on the William Haynes Show, trying to get some more energy up in here. I know it's kind of a weird feeling night, feeling a little bit down, all that stuff. Again, just one more time before we charge ahead here. If you want to call in, you can call in at any point during the show, but just throwing the number out there again, 877-566-1020. With you until about, 12:30 or so. We'll kind of see how it goes. I guess we'll just dig right into this game. Dodgers win Game 5 by a score of 4-2. They take a 3-2 series lead. They're 1 win away from their first World Series since 1988, 1989. I should probably know that. For the Rays, if they have any ideas at winning this series, they're going to have to win 2 straight. That's it. 2 games in 2 days. Got the update tomorrow. And again, I mentioned I like that probably favors the Rays. I heard some talk, maybe that some whispers, some rumblings about Buehler starting Game 6. I don't buy that. It's just there's no need for them to do that. Even with the way Dave Roberts manages, that just it doesn't make any sense. They'll have him ready for Game 7, and it would be Charlie Morton for the Rays, you would assume, in that spot. So for Game 6, it's going to be Snell announced for the Rays against Tony Gonsolin. It could be Dustin May, potentially. He pitched an inning in 2/3, so I don't know about that, but I know they've kind of used him as that kind of Swiss Army knife, and that's part of the reason why I'm not going to bother previewing Game 6, because it is so pivotal. I need to take some time and kind of do my homework and see maybe what direction the Dodgers will go in, so we'll preview that contest and all that fun stuff tomorrow. So getting back on track, for the Dodgers, it was 4 runs on 6 hits, 1 error for them. For the Rays, it was 2 runs on 7 hits, no errors for the Rays. They actually out-hit the Dodgers. That's a bit strange to see. I guess it shouldn't be with how well Rays got base runners tonight. For the Dodgers, they got, with the 5 walks and the 6 hits, 11 base runners. Rays got 10. So it was just the Dodgers' ability to capitalize. There was a couple of calls, and I know it's surprising I've gone 16 minutes and change without mentioning the Margot stealing home. From Mark Tompkin on Twitter, I guess he was listening to the Kevin Cash in the Zoom room. He says, Kevin Cash says Margot was going on his own and trying to steal home. Said it's tough for him to say if it was or wasn't the right move, that he would defer to Margot's judgment. Off the cuff for me, it made enough sense. It was with 2 outs. That was the thing. They got in the 4th inning, they got Margot at third base with nobody out. And Joey Wendell pops up in an unproductive out, and Willie Adames strikes out. He had Kevin Kiermaier up, and he struck out in his at-bat his next time up in the 5th. So that's the right time to do it. If they had done that with no outs or 1 out, no. And obviously that doesn't make any sense that you would do that. Anyway, I was kind of surprised. Kershaw, even with men on base, just really and he goes out of the stretch, but he's just really slow coming out. And obviously the left-hander, he's not facing third base, so he can't see. And Margot got a good jump. Everything went according to plan, and it just didn't quite go their way. I mean, I don't know about the call. They chose not to challenge it. It wouldn't have been overturned because it was called out. I know the Dodgers got a little bit fortunate with the call in the first. And officiating in football, umpiring in baseball, never really the reason why you win or lose a game, despite what Yankee fans would like you to believe or anything like that. It cost the Rays, I think, a run in the 1st inning. I think the Margot out call was probably the right call in the 4th. I don't know about that. I mean, we would have liked him to be safe, and what a cool moment that would be, stealing home in the World Series. That's like Willie Mays Hayes from Major Leagues almost. It's kind of what it seemed like with Margot's trip around the bases. That was kind of funny to watch. The 1st inning was just kind of a shame, and didn't build Glasnow out. We'll get into that in a little bit. And there was I don't have a problem if an umpire strike zone is smaller or larger than the textbook definition of a strike zone. Of course, it probably should be. It should be textbook. It should be, the lines in the dirt, just the edges of home plate and knees to belt to every hitter. That should be the strike zone. Unfortunately, with some umpires, it's not that way, so hitters kind of have to find out the way that you go. But fine, if you want to have a larger strike zone, you want to have a tighter strike zone, just call it consistently, so at least the hitters know what's an umpire's strike or not, so they can act accordingly. And I know everything is so quick in the moment where, who knows how much that really matters anyway. But Joey Wendell in the 2nd, he got rung up on a curveball that was probably 3 baseballs high, even on the Fox box, whatever you want to look at, it was high. They ring him up. Joey Wendell, you never really see him upset at that kind of stuff. He was furious. And then it was Glasnow at the time. The curveball's high, and they looked like they were probably in the strike zone, but definitively lower and more closer to the zone than the one to Wendell. And home plate Marvin Hudson called them balls. So it's just, I don't buy. I don't know. It just that it doesn't make any sense. People that say, "Oh yeah, Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball, they hate small market teams. That's why they're blah 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 against the Rays." It's not like that. I don't really buy that. Umpires or referees are in conspiracy with anything like that. The umpire he just didn't make the right call according to his strike zone, because even if it was high of the textbook strike zone, he needs to stay consistent, and if the pitchers and the hitters don't know what's a strike and what's not to a specific umpire, that's certainly a problem, and that was I had an issue with that. Again, that's my piece on it. Getting back to where we were, the winning pitcher was Clayton Kershaw, his second win of the series, kind of turning the page on that kind of postseason GOAT stuff. Not GOAT in the greatest of all time, but what GOAT used to mean, as in, just someone who performed poorly. He gets the win in 5 2/3, gives up 2 earned runs in the process, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Getting the loss, it was Tyler Glasnow. He's now 0-2 in the series. 5 innings pitched, 4 runs allowed, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks. And getting the save, they opt not to go with Kenley Jansen. Instead, Blake Trinan, the former Oakland A, inning pitched, 2 strikeouts. A leadoff single to Manny Margot, struck out Meadows, and that was a tough break. It looked like Rays have caught just a tough break, just bad luck kind of stuff. I mean, really good contact, and it's just foul. And even like home runs, there was there arose a rain at bat in the first, and then almost hits a home run, and then instead grounds into a double play, stuff like that. It really is a game of inches, and it seemed like in that series against the Astros, that kind of stuff was going the Rays' way, at least early on, and that's why they were able to win those first 3 games. And again, if that had not happened, the Rays would not have won that series with the way that they played. They should not have won those first 3 games, and that allowed them to kind of, I guess, do what they did in the next 3 games. And Game 7, of course, they took advantage of. But it seemed like kind of turning the tide on that a little bit, whether you believe in the baseball gods or what have you. I mean, I don't know exactly. It's just you like to respond and that kind of stuff. I can liken it to I cover Florida State sports, not for anybody specifically, but just kind of from my own experience and stuff like that. And covering the football team, watching their games, at times there would be a big play that would get called back from a penalty or whatever. You just catch a tough break. But to me, it's how do you respond to it. Obviously, you can't change what just happened, but can you, just because a play got called back because of holding doesn't mean you still can't go out the next play and do a good job. And with the Florida State, in that specific case, oftentimes they would squander the opportunity, and just because one play got away, they would just let the whole game get away. And for the Rays, I would say that as they've been all season, as they've been, the 3 seasons or so that I've been watching them, they're just resilient until the end. I mean, they didn't really let that stuff get to them, I think, even though I think the result didn't necessarily go in the way that they would have liked. Talking about the Rays lineup, they made a lot of substitutions again. I mean, Kevin Cash doing his thing. Just because it's the World Series and it's nationally televised doesn't mean he's going to change his game and not completely empty the bench and show off his managerial skills. I thought he kind of, I'm trying to think of a way I can say this that would be okay for radio. He just kind of, he kind of punked Dave Roberts a little bit, I guess, with some of the moves that were made. He dared Dave Roberts to do certain things, and I think both times Dave Roberts just kind of conceded to Cash, and it ended up working in favor of the Dodgers. But I thought Kevin Cash is certainly he's one step ahead of the other 29 managers in Major League Baseball, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. And you've got to like your chances as long as he's here. Hopefully he doesn't leave like Joe Madden did. But I know we've got him under contract for a considerable amount of time. Either way, the lineup, defense first and the outfield from left to right. It was Manny Margot in left, Kiermaier in center, Hunter Renfroe in right field. In the infield from third to first, it was Joey Wendell at third base, Adames at shortstop, Brandon Lau at second, Yandy Diaz at first. Mike Zunino did the catching, and the DH was Randy Arozarena. And the way the outfield was, or the way the lineup was structured, rather, Yandy Diaz led off, followed by Arozarena and Lau. Manny Margot cleaned up, followed by Renfroe and Wendell. And a bottom three of Adames, Kiermaier, and Zunino. So, again, the lineup didn't go exactly the way maybe that we would have expected. Mike Brasso was not in the lineup. I thought that against the lefty Kershaw, and let's see, just take a peek at what they did in Game 1 against him. They did not have Brasso in that game either. He was 1 for 1 on a pinch hit appearance, though. So, whatever they knew about Kershaw, how they wanted to attack him going into the series, that approach didn't change going in the second time through. And I think, to Kevin Cash's credit, the lineup looked much better against Kershaw the second time through. I mean, the stat line didn't look much different. 5 2/3 of 2 runs compared to 6 innings of 1 run. The stat line doesn't look different, but again, the threats were there, and the Rays just didn't cash in, and that was not really on Kershaw. That was more so on the Rays. So Brasso was not in the lineup. He did have a pinch hit walk, basically, and that was it. I mean, I think maybe part of that as well was they wanted defense. I mean, Mike Brasso, by all indication, is a good, whether you want to put him at third or at first. He performs good, but I think they elect Joey Wendell at third, and he got, the day off yesterday, I believe. So you got him back in the lineup. He goes 0 for 4 with the strikeout. So it doesn't necessarily give you the offense. I know he knocked in 3 runs in Game 2, and one of the better, nicer games of his career, and that was certainly a cool thing to see. And then, again, it just, what that allowed them to do, or they used the DH on Arozarena, so instead of getting Meadows or Setsugo in the lineup, they DH Arozarena, and that allows them to do the traditional 3 outfielders that they like against right-handed pitching: Margot, Kiermaier, and Hunter Renfroe against left-handed pitching. I meant, if I didn't say that correctly. So they go the 4 outfilders in the lineup, basically using the DH on Arozarena. Arozarena is a good defensive player, so I typically like to have him in the field, and just I don't know. I've been saying this. I don't see a reason why you need to have Margot and Renfroe in the lineup, but again, I think they did this last time Renfroe was in the lineup. He got 2 at-bats, and then when the bullpen switched to the left, or to the righties rather, they put the lefty Meadows in, and you just slot him right in and play right field. So it's almost like an in-game platoon type situation. So ultimately it doesn't matter, and I guess from that standpoint it does make more sense. I mean, if Renfroe had taken the 4 at-bats, I would have not understood not getting Meadows in there. But Meadows did get his 2 hacks as well. 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, although by memory it seemed like the at-bats weren't terrible. Rays just kind of were just not catching not so great breaks, and that's really it from that. I mean, we'll go one by one right now. Yandy Diaz, he led off, got his, what I would call basically his first real extra base hit of the season. His only other one was a short porch home run in Yankee Stadium, and the other 29 ballparks, that's a routine fly out to right, but because it's so short over there in right field, that ended up being a home run, and it barely cleared over as well. So got a triple in the third inning. So wow, it's a triple too. Mookie Betts actually kind of messed up defensively, which is certainly an odd sight to see, but Yandy Diaz was huge, I thought, tonight for what they were able to do. He only ended up scoring 1 of the times, but 2 for 3, a run knocked in, also a run scored. No walks, no strikeouts. Leadoff single in the first. That's what he did the last time against Kershaw. So from whatever standpoint, whatever strategy, I mean, it was on a 1-2 count. I think it was like a 0-1 count or something like that the other time. Well, I actually can go check. It was a 1-2 count as well, so that's interesting. I would probably bet that it was the same pitch that he singled off of, because they were both pulled. No, they weren't. Never mind. Anyway, so he singles in the first, gets a one-out triple with a man on in the third, so does score a run. That was cool. Kiermaier going first to home on a triple. Grounds out in the fifth inning with the bases empty, and then and that was it for him. Yeah, he got pulled for Barrasso in the eighth, who walked. So he got those 3 at bats. Again, just goes 2 for 3, so not bad. Arozarena batted second, a chance to have some big moments, and he did have one. He now holds the all-time record for most hits in a postseason. As of right now, unless Corey Seager overtakes him, he's going to have the record for most home runs in a postseason as well. And again, I mean, he's got the rookie records, obviously, as well. So, arguably to say, the best postseason from a position player of all time. I mean, I know 2002 Barry Bonds, he got like intentionally walked half the time he came to the plate, and obviously no one, I think, is ever going to be able to do that again. But just from a pure number standpoint, the Rays would not have been, I don't even know if they would have gotten out of the ALDS, to be honest with you, without a Arozarena. I mean, just say that it was really just that 4-man group of Kiermaier, Margot, Renfroe, Meadows. I don't know if they win that series against the Yankees, and if they do, who knows if they beat Houston, and who knows if they take the 2 games here in the World Series without what Arozarena has done. So the guy that you don't call up basically until September, I know some COVID stuff as well. I mean, that's just, it's crazy. Hopefully he sticks around. I mean, it seems like everyone has their slumps, and, he could have a not-so-good year next year, whatever the case. Things can always change, but it looks like he has a good idea of the strike zone. He can barrel up just about any pitch. Relatively. I mean, he hit, a curveball up in the zone that was basically an unhittable pitch for the other guys, and he basically rips it for an RBI single. Those kind of things, and that really stood out to me tonight. I mean, just how crucial he has been. He goes 1 for 4 with that RBI single. Grounds it to a double play in the first. Was just, 10 feet left of a 2-run homer in the first. Worked a full count, and then just grounded into a double play. So you catch a tough break there. RBI single in the third, and was caught stealing. Ground out to start the sixth. And in the eighth inning, I thought that was going to be his moment. They got a couple men on with only 1 out, and he flies out to center. So I thought, obviously he's not going to be able to come through every time. He was the only Rays hitter to get a hit with runners in scoring position. So ends up going 1 for 2, which is not bad. But we all were hoping or expecting for the 3-run homer to give the team the lead, and it didn't go that way. And then Brandon Lau did not come through either, which was a bit disappointing, and what I would consider par for the course for this postseason, relatively speaking. Speaking of Brandon Lau, he goes 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Not a great game. I mean, nothing popped out to me that he was just getting absolutely demolished at the plate. He did strike out once. Popped up to the catcher in the first. Struck out in the third. Popped up to the first baseman in the sixth. Then flew out to center with a couple of men on in the eighth. By the way, the strikeout in the third, that came with a runner at first? I believe so. I think that was a strike him out, throw him out, potentially. I don't recall. So, a couple of at-bats with runners on base. It's going 0 for 1, of course, with runners in scoring position. We'll take a look pitch by pitch and see maybe what he was looking for. Margot, and that was another thing. Yeah, they moved Lau back to the top. I would have liked him to bat fifth, but especially against a lefty again, but they decided to move him back up to third, and you get an 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Batting cleanup again for a second straight day, Manny Margot. And he actually has himself a nice day. He goes 2 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Leadoff single in the second. Leadoff walk in the fourth. Struck out with the bases empty in the sixth. and a leadoff single in the ninth. So how about that? And I've been mentioning this. I've continued to bring this up. I don't know if anyone else is talking about it, but with the Rays this postseason at least, I don't know if it's they just don't, whatever pattern it is, the number 4 hitter, which is traditionally known in baseball as a cleanup hitter, usually comes on to start an inning or basically kind of with no men on base. So it's not your traditional slugger type cleanup hitter. Margot is a leadoff hitter, and it's basically the way the Rays lineup has worked. And I can't explain why or why it keeps happening, or maybe how they identified this pattern, but they basically have 2 leadoff hitters in their lineup. Obviously, the number 1 hitter, but also the number 4 hitter has started a lot of innings. And it's not like they were going down 1, 2, 3. They got a base runner in just about every inning. I mean, that I can see. They had 3 innings where they went down in order, the 5th, 6th, and 7th. So other than that, I mean, they were getting the 4 hitter came up. So again, anytime a guy gets on, started an inning 3 straight times, that's huge. And again, situational baseball for me is always obviously a super important thing. And situational baseball does not always mean coming up with men on base or, getting a big strikeout with men on base if you're a pitcher or anything like that. To me, when your offense needs a spark and you're the leadoff hitter to start an inning and you get on base, to me that's coming through in a big situation, and Margot did that in a big way. And what's unfortunate, he gets on to lead off an inning 3 times. The Rays can't bring him around any of those 3 times. And one of those, the leadoff walk in the 4th, was the one where he gets caught stealing going for home. I'm not going to speak to whether that's a good or a bad decision, only because I'm not necessarily as educated in that as maybe people inside the game. To me, watching it on television, it looked like the right spot. Kershaw even with men on base, takes a long time to get to the plate. And Margot got a good jump. He's the Rays' best base runner, and that's also his best tool. You talk about 5-tool players, Margot's maybe got 2, but maybe whether it's hitting for contact and base running, I suppose, would be his 2 tools. Or you could even say fielding as well, so maybe he's a 3-tool guy. And he's actually knocked in a lot of runners in this postseason. I think he's like number 2 behind Rosarena, I want to say. So Margot has been huge, and I think that's big for the Rays moving forward. He's only 25 years old. He'll be a mainstay, I'm sure, in the outfield next year. It's going to be a little crowded, I think, with a Rosarena, Kiermaier, Meadows, and Margot. So maybe Margot's the odd man out. Who's to say for that? But anyway, it was just the fact they can't bring him across to score. The 4th inning was so concerning. The fact that, of course, Max Muncy got the home run the very next half inning. It didn't end up being the game. If it was 3-2, I would have just come on the show and yelled and screamed and slaughtered the Rays for not coming through in that moment. And I think they still should be, but I don't know. And they didn't get a base runner for, I think it was like 11 or 12 that were retired in a row after that caught stealing for home. So I guess in that regard, you talk about them responding to adversity. You don't come through with a runner at third and no men out, and then you just can't even get anyone on base. That's I don't have to tell you that that's not a good thing. So that's all I can say about Margot. A good game. Again, I think that's an interesting little note about the number 4 hitter, and that'll go into my, I guess, prediction for how they'll structure the lineup tomorrow. I'm hoping we'll know a starter. If not, I'll just probably prepare for Tony Gonsolin, because that would be his slot. And, he only faced he didn't even get through the order first time through. He faced only 6 guys, so a little bit different. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Batting 5th, Hunter Renfroe. Thought he moved up maybe a bit too much in the lineup, but they knew what they were doing. They knew that Meadows was basically going to platoon. Renfroe got 2 at-bats in the 5 spot, and Meadows got 2 at-bats in the 5 spot. All right, we have it right here. I just want to throw this out. Tony Gonsolin will start in Game 6, so we have that. That's from Dave Roberts. So Speaking of the devil, and he shall appear, Tony Gonsolin, all of our worst nightmares. We'll see him to start Game 6, so that's kind of funny. Renfroe, 0 for 1 with a walk, looking at the spots. Grounded out, but did move a runner over. That moved Margot to second in the second inning. Walked with a man on in the fourth, and that was it. So 2 productive plate appearances for him there. Not bad. And then Meadows, I guess I'll just put that along, got the other 2 at-bats out of the 5 hole. Struck out to start the 7th, and struck out with a man on first in the 9th. So not great, but again, they weren't bad at-bats by all indication for me. Batting 6th, Joey Wendell, 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Really rough game for him. It sucks to see, and he was really frustrated, you could tell. Looking at his at-bats. Struck out with a man at second in the second, and that was a strikeout looking where it was a curveball, 3 baseballs high of the belt, basically. Should have been called a ball. They rung him up. I'm not going to blame Wendell. I don't know if it's even right ever to blame an umpire, but I don't know. I think you just scratched that out. But one that is definitely on him, it was runners at the corners with nobody out in the 4th. And at that time, if I can try and get the score, it was 3-2. So any kind of deep fly out, even a double play ball, scores a run, ties the game, just anything. It's funny that the one spot where you don't mind a double play ball, runners at the corners with nobody out, because at least you get a run out of it. And a weak pop out to shortstop. Obviously he was trying to get the ball in the air, but just didn't get the barrel in the right spot, didn't come through. And then, of course, Adames strikes out, which is even more pitiful, I think, and just, boy, what a rough time he's had at the plate. I don't want to slam him. He doesn't deserve to be slammed because he plays such good defense, and if he wasn't, there's no way he'd be in this lineup. They would have just, if Adames, again, he wouldn't be on this team if he didn't play great defense, but it would have just been Wendell at shortstop and Brasso at third. Make no mistake about that. So he's earned a spot in the lineup. But anyway, getting back to Wendell, flies out with the base empty in the 7th, and that was the fly out to left, if you recall. The Rays had been put down. The last 8 or 9 men that came to the plate were retired, and it was with 1 out in the 7th, and at that time was a 4-2 game. Could have been a double. Jock Peterson makes a running catch, over his shoulder in the 7th and deep left. So it was good off the bat. Doesn't quite have the power, the muscle to hit home runs. He hit 4 in the regular season, which was a career high. It must have been, because I know he only hit like 2 home runs prior to that, and he did it in a 60-game season. So he did have a little pop of the bat, but just couldn't come through in that spot. But one thing the box score won't tell you. I mean, it should have been a double. Just Jock Peterson made a nice play defensively, and then flew out to center with a man on in the 9th. Adames batted 7th. He goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. As close as tonight's biggest loser as I could find, I think. I mean, grounded out with a man on second in the 2nd. Struck out with runners at the corners and an out in the 4th. Flew out to right to end the 7th with no man on. And was the final out in the 9th. Just hasn't come through in this postseason. I know people have been pushing playoff Willie. He had 2 good games in the playoffs last year. And I'm not a Willie Adames hater. I think it's great that the Rays, the whole shortstop is the captain mentality and a guy that anchors your defense, this and that. Obviously I'm not a Yankee fan. I'm not a Derek Jeter fan, but I'm a big supporter of Jeter. I don't agree with the Jeter is overrated, this or that. I think it's totally a thing. I don't care about stats. I don't care about averages, WAR. That's ridiculous. A guy that comes to work every day and plays a phenomenal shortstop and also is a clutch hitter and Jeter, that I think is that's invaluable. You can't put a price on that kind of stuff. So Adames has been the first part. He's been that guy that comes to work every day and plays phenomenal shortstop. He's a guy that I don't care what stats or whatever, he legitimately takes away hits from guys, and that helps out the pitchers. That's huge. You can't replace that. I don't care. You can't put a D-WAR on that, whatever the case. But has looked absolutely abysmal at the plate. I can't identify what the issue is. I don't know if he's not seeing the baseball well. I know it was Adames, I want to say, or Kiermaier did it as well, I think. But no, it was Willie who did the clear visor, the clear shades in the Trop because he couldn't see the baseball well with the lighting. So obviously these aren't in the Trop. Even in the outdoors, he doesn't hit incredibly well. But I don't know what it is, and he goes over 2 with runners in scoring position, and so did Wendell. But again, that Wendell strikeout looking, I think, was bogus, and then but did have a unproductive out. But Adames is just came through with runners on base in 3 of his 4 at bats, and just did not come through in any of them. And it's been the case, but it doesn't kill the Rays because it's your number 7 hitter. Your number 7 hitter is not the reason why you scored 2 runs in a game. That's the bottom line for you. Your number 7 hitter playing the kind of defense that he plays, that's enough. But it happened to be those particular spots where the top of the order didn't do a whole ton, so it was kind of the middle that would get on base, and that means that it's the bottom of the order that has to drive him in, and that wasn't the case tonight. Batting 8th in center, Kevin Kiermaier. He actually had a nice day at the plate. 2 for 3 with a strikeout, a run scored. Looking at his at-bats, a leadoff single. In the 3rd, he was driven in by that triple for Yandy Diaz. Struck out to start the 5th. And a leadoff single in the 8th. Advanced to 2nd on a wild pitch. Rays don't drive him in. So got on base to lead off an inning. Again, a weird pattern. The 8 hitter leads off 3 different innings. And Kevin Kiermaier, I know he led off for a number of years in the early Kevin Cash era. So props to him. Again, Rays got the leadoff base runner, or the leadoff hitter on base 6 of the 9 innings. They got 1 of those to score. If the Rays don't go on to win this series, I mean, this is a game that you look back on, and I've been saying it in the regular season. The month of August really was one of the best months I think this team has probably ever had. I mean, I know that September in 2011 will always be the best month that the team has ever had, and whatnot. And of course, if the Rays win the World Series, this October is going to be the best month that the team has. But as we'll knock on the wood just to make sure. But September, the team really started a trend of a lot of strikeouts and not coming through with runners in scoring position. And I know that was the struggles of the team early in late July and early August as well. But I've been saying if this team doesn't come through in the postseason, it's not probably going to be because of pitching or not getting guys on base like it kind of was in 2018. 2018, they won 90 games with not a lot of base runners, but they just were clutch hitters. When they got men on base, they did stuff with it. This year's iteration of the Rays get on base a ton. They walk a lot, which again, that's part of that new probably sabermetrics movement. Well, not really new. I mean that's 2002 Oakland A's stuff, like on base percentage, which is kind of funny that we're coming back to that now. After everyone is pushing slugging and OPS, and all of a sudden it seems like we're getting back to on base percentage. But either way, the inability for this team to hit with men on base, and especially with those men in scoring position, is going to be the downfall of this team. Again, 1 for 7 tonight in that category. They leave 5 men on. Wendell, Adames go 0 for 2. Arozarena goes 1 for 2. Lau goes 0 for 1. And again, those are Arozarena 1 for 2. You'll take that because he did get a nice single and then didn't come through late in the game. But by no means should Arozarena be blamed for anything. He's the reason why the team is here. And Lau, he didn't come through in the 8th. Okay, I'm not going to slam him. He's had a nice World Series with the 3 home runs at this point. But Wendell, Adames, I mean, bottom of the order defensive guys, I don't know. It's hard to blame them, but and I think you have to kind of look at chain of reaction, cause and effect type stuff. And for the longest time, it's been a long time, a mainstay bit on the show where, usually it's Meadows to lead off and Lau to bat second, and every night it seemed like they do that. They combine to go 0 for 8 with 4 strikeouts, and it's just, Dave Wills says it on the broadcast, WDAE, another great call from them, Dave and Andy tonight. Your best players have to be your best players, and when they're not, Rosarena has been, but Lau was not tonight. Meadows was not tonight. Kiermaier had a good night, but generally speaking, it just, you're putting pressure on guys that you shouldn't be. Why should Adames and Wendell have to carry the load offensively? They're already carrying the load defensively. That's the point of them being in the lineup. So guys like that aren't going to do anything. There's a reason why, Joey Wendell was DFA'd. He's not necessarily, as much as I love him, I think he's my favorite player that I've ever watched play baseball. I love the way he plays. He's not necessarily a complete player. He's got tools that the Rays can use, but why are you going to make him be the reason why you win or lose a World Series game? It doesn't need to be like that, but it was tonight, and same with Adames. Adames, a lot of people forget this. He was actually the main return in the David Price trade when we, I guess, realized that we weren't going to be able to pay him. So we got a good return back. Adames, he was a top prospect, and I'm not saying by all means Willie sucks. Again, to me, he's the Rays' Derek Jeter. He's the captain. I can't say enough about what he's done from a leadership standpoint. By no means, it's fine if players come over from other countries and choose not to learn English. I'm not criticizing players who decide not to do that. That's their thing. A lot of guys have, they can be 40 years old and doing interviews in Spanish, and they get paid millions. That's not the reason why they come over here, is not to speak English. It's to hit baseballs. But Willie Adames made a decision at some point in his career, I don't know when, he wanted to go above and beyond. He's completely fluent in English now. He is a bridge between coaches and players, between players themselves that are between English and Spanish. He kind of can eliminate that language barrier. To me, he is the captain. Every time there's a meeting pretty much on the pitcher's mound, sometimes there's moments where it's just between Kyle Snyder and the pitcher, but sometimes it'll be Kyle Snyder, the pitcher, and Willie Adames, and I don't exactly know the strategy that goes into that, but Adames is there, especially between the Spanish-speaking pitchers and the pitching coach, Kyle Snyder. So that stuff is huge to me, and I just wanted to throw that out there because it's something I've noticed. He's a lovable guy. He brings that good energy. He always is bringing guys up. Brandon Lau slump. I mean, none of the team were bringing him down, but Willie especially was always trying to bring him up, and I can't say enough about what Willie means to this team and anyone around the Rays organization, and especially, the baseball side. But I'm sure even, clubbies or field groundskeepers, they could all tell you Willie is the kind of glue that kind of holds that team together. He just has a bad night at the plate, and in some ways it does cost you Game 5 of the 2020 World Series, but you got to swallow it and move on. I guess that's the bottom line of it. He'll get his chance. That's how baseball works. He's going to get a couple chances, whether it's just Game 6 or Game 6 and a Game 7. He's going to get another chance to put his stamp on this series. And some guys show up in those moments, and some guys don't. And we'll see. And by no means, if Adames doesn't show up, doesn't mean he's not going to be that player. I have not found him to be clutch in any way at the plate. But again, that defense can't really be replaced. We had a really smart caller a couple weeks ago that he had actually kind of looked into the defensive metrics for Wander Franco at the minor league level, and basically telling me that he's not necessarily tracking to be that defensive shortstop, even though he's played short in the minors, that he'll probably be moved to third base. So the Rays don't really have another shortstop like that in their organization. They traded away Fidel Brujan or Lucius Fox. I can't remember which one in the Brett Phillips trade. I believe it was Fidel Brujan, so they still have Lucius Fox. Or maybe... No, they traded Lucius Fox. That's right, because there was all the Batman jokes or whatever it was. And they do have Vidal Brujan, and I believe he maybe could play short, but who knows. The point being is, I do want to. I did kind of slam Adames, and I think in some ways he was the reason the team lost tonight. But I don't want people coming after him. I don't want people blaming him for the reason why this team is. He brings so much to the organization, and I'm a big believer in Bill James and sabermetrics and things, but there's not a number in a spreadsheet for a guy like Adames that can be a bridge between coaches and players, and between players themselves, and can carry a team and bring guys up. Again, that can't be put into a number. So, I guess we're getting to that point where in the season, if something good happens, if something bad happens, we get to kind of romanticize this 2020 season. And so, I guess this was just my opportunity, my open form love letter to Willie Adames, because he does mean so much to the team, and had a bad game tonight. But the thing is, the biggest credit to him, he's going to come out and play really good defensively tomorrow, no matter what he does at the plate. And again, like I said, he'll get another chance tomorrow, guaranteed, to put his stamp on this series. With that being said, I'm surprised we're going to get another hour and a half probably of the show, even without a preview. With that being said, we're going to do inning by inning and get out of here. Again, I'll try and multitask and try and, I guess, get the link up while I'm talking. Number to call if you want to call in and talk Rays, it is 877-566-1020 with you for about maybe 20 minutes or so. So I'll just give me one moment. Again, 877-566-1020. I really could use a producer to help me with this stuff, but I get to do it on the air live. Anyway, inning by inning breakdown. I don't really want to do this, but I feel like for perpetuity's sake, we probably should, and it tells the story of a game. Top of the first, Tyler Glasnow on the bump. Took the loss in Game 1. Has not been, over the past 2 years, an incredibly good postseason performer. I know he did have a couple good starts against the Yankees, and I think a decent start against the Astros. But this World Series has been rough, and the ALDS last year was rough as well. He started, games 1 and 5? Or was it? No. It was 2 and 5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Game 2 of the ALDS in 2019 will haunt me. I remember it was Kevin Kiermaier grounded out to first with men on base. They actually got to Roberto Osuna, and they would have ended up, it could have gone differently those 2 games in the Trop, but they probably would have won that series. And I feel a certain way about the 2019 team. I think they might be a little better than this year's iteration, and they would have gotten to play the Yankees in the ALCS, and if they had won that, the Nationals in the World Series. So I don't know that. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep into that, but Tyler Glasnow starting a playoff game will always bring up those kind of memories for me, and Game 5 the ALDS will haunt me as well. Either way, in 2019, the 2020 ALDS Game 5, I think, made up for it, fivefold, because it beat the Yankees. Anyway, Betts, leadoff hitter, went 0 for 5 last night. I think the Dodgers in the postseason is 8-1 or something when he gets a hit. So he didn't get a hit last night. Immediately, well, not immediately. It was an 8-pitch at bat, doubles to deep left. By the way, the control for Glasnow before I go any further, 102 pitches, 61 strikes. So I don't know what that comes out to, like 55-60% strikes. Not enough. Faces 23 men, threw first pitch strike to 14 of them. Not quite enough, and was just all over the place. Had Mookie Betts at 3-1. Gets him to swing and miss at a fastball. Fouls off fastballs. Gave him another fastball. So you give Mookie Betts 5 straight fastballs. You only throw 1 curveball and an 8-pitch at bat. I think that tells me right out the gate that Glasnow knew that his curveball didn't really have it, and the only one that he threw was taken outside for a ball. Doubles to deep left, so all of a sudden the Dodgers are threatening immediately. Then you got Corey Seager, who's having an absolute mammoth postseason. Another great night for him. What is he at the plate? 1 for 3. He was 4 for 5 last night. RBI single to right. Gives him a couple curveballs. One was fouled off and one middle. Just an easy pitch to hit. It didn't have break. Again, I don't know the exact moment, but to me that's one that is in the dirt behind home plate, and it just did not break. So Because again, if that pitch did that and it was swung on a miss, you have him 0-2, and then maybe you get him out and you work around that stuff. So that kind of stuff can change the game as well. So the fact that the Rays had those things going for them against them, and they only lose 4-2 is a bit remarkable in its own right. And I think the credit to that goes to the bullpen. RBI single, man at first, no outs. It's 1-0 Dodgers. Gets Justin Turner to strike out. Got him with a curveball, but again, it didn't really break. Got to fastballs for strikes. Seager gets the second base on a wild pitch, 1 of 3 that he would have. Again, most in a World Series game, I think, ever. Max Muncy walks, starts him off 0-2, a couple curveballs, take him for strikes, gave him another curveball low, and then just couldn't find the fastballs. Then on a full count went to a curveball high. So runners at first and second with 1 out. Then you get Will Smith to strike out. Okay. I should probably speed up a little bit, but more decent pitch mix on that one. Seager gets to third base on a wild pitch, so he's moving around on 2 wild pitches in the first inning. And that allows Bellinger to not get a run on an infield single. Had him 1-2, a curveball that didn't break. Common theme tonight. 2-0 Dodgers, and then gets Taylor to strike out. Bottom of the first, Rays already down 2. Kershaw on the mound for the Dodgers. Yandy Diaz gets a leadoff single on a 1-2 count, or slider rather, that didn't break. Kershaw and his 90 pitches or something in game 1 through 11 or 12 sliders. I think it was the 4th or 5th inning on Fox when they showed the graphic. He had thrown 42% sliders, so he did change up his approach quite a bit, and I would say it didn't necessarily work as well. He probably should have just stuck to whatever he did in game 1. Maybe that's the problem with playoff Kershaw. He just overthinks himself. But Yandy Diaz gets on to lead off the game. Arozarena in a 9-pitch at bat. He was 10 feet away again from a home run, and that would have made it 2-2. Gets a fastball, bit high and away at 91, and he just grounds out. I think pulls it to the shortstop. Double play, eliminates the leadoff single. Then Lau pops out on a fastball, middle into him. After 2-0 LA. Glasnow in the second inning, and by the way, Glasnow in the first inning, 34 pitches, 2 runs allowed. How did he get through 5 innings of 4 runs? That's pretty remarkable, I think, in its own right. But to start the second, Jock Peterson comes to the plate, righty on lefty, had him 1-2. Fastball, not a bad pitch actually, got it up and in, but I guess, or up and away rather, and he was able to just clobber it. 428 feet to center makes it 3-0 LA. Then a 4-pitch walk to Austin Barnes, no good. Just fastballs that just could not, fastballs in the dirt. I don't know what was going on. So you got a base runner there. Gets Mookie Betts to fly out. That's good. Couple curveballs in the at-bat. Barnes gets caught stealing, going to second. There you go. Did I miss the Corey Seager thing? I think I did. I believe it was. Yeah, I want to just go back to that real quick. It was the play at second. He did get third base as well, but Seager should have been called out at second. He was what was it? Laz Diaz at second base called him safe. Rays challenged because they knew he was out, and they didn't overturn the call. To me, it looked, what was it, that he came off the bag, or that I think he just beat him. I don't recall which one, but it was pretty clear, at least to me, that Seager was out. And I guess, again, that it would have only been 1-0 LA instead of 2-0 in a 4-2 game. Maybe that swings a different way. Either way, Barnes gets caught stealing, so there's 2 gone. Glasnow walks Seager in 5 pitches, fastballs, not finding the zone. Just he lost control there for, a 15-pitch stretch or so. Then gets Turner. Turner. Why can't I? Justin Turner, rather, to flat to end the inning. Bottom of the second, Kershaw on. Margot, who's been so good at this, and I've been kind of calling this as kind of an underrated ability of Margot's. Bunt single. You can get a man on. There you go. It's a fastball just kind of middle down. That's a pitch you can single off of, but Margot just decides to bunt. Gets on first. 3-0 game. Let's get the chain moving. Renfroe grounds out, but moves Margot to second base. All right, a runner in scoring position. I like it. Wendell strikes out. That was the strikeout looking the curveball that was not a strike, so whatever. Adames grounds out to third. It was a curveball, kind of down and away. Just pulled it. At the end of 2, it's 3-0 Dodgers. Top of the third, Glasnow on. Muncy leadoff single, so again, they immediately threat it. Yikes. I don't think this was charted right. A fastball at 93, middle high. That's not good. He throws like 98 usually, not 93. So, then strikes out Will Smith, 1 away. Muncy gets to second base on a wild pitch. Again, his third of the game. Gets Bellinger to strike out, gets Taylor to ground out. So he gets a nice inning there, kind of a shutdown little inning for him. Bottom of the third, Kershaw. Kiermaier reaches on an infield single. Started off 0-2, but just hit a slider down and away. Chased it, but made contact with it and made a hustle play. Every day he's hustling. Zunino strikes out looking. A fastball at 91, middle down. Come on, Big Z. 1 away. Yandy Diaz. His first real extra base hit of 2020. Glad he got at least 1. Triples to deep right. Mookie can't dig it out of the right field corner. By the way, just Clint Frazier, it seemed like he had trouble in right field every time we played him, and yet he gets a Gold Glove nomination. I can't stand it. That is just so ridiculous. Anyway. That RBI triple for Diaz scores Kiermaier 3-1. Rays get on the board. Get run number 2, 90 feet away. Arozarena starts off 0-2, 1-2 count. A curveball high, the same one that rung up Wendell looking basically, and just gets the bat up there. He climbs the ladder, like a really hard play to make. Usually you don't get those for base hits, but Arozarena, that just shows his plate coverage. RBI single. It's 3-2 Rays. We're moving it. And then Lau strikes out, swinging, and Arozarena's caught stealing, so a strike him out, throw him out there for the Rays. And I think Arozarena, that might have been a play where he thought he was safe, but I guess he wasn't, whatever. After 3-2 Dodgers. I thought maybe the Rays would have a chance, actually, to kind of take this game. I guess if they won against Kershaw, it would be kind of stealing a game, I suppose. Top of the fourth. Glasnow on, gets a shutdown inning, gets Peterson, Barnes, and Betts. So a couple of guys that really kind of did him dirty. Peterson that got the home run, and Betts who got the double, gets them both out there. And both flyouts also. So decent contact there. Either way, bottom fourth, Kershaw on. A leadoff walk to Manny Margot. He gets on base to start another inning. Refused to chase. The sliders and curveballs down. Love it. Then Margot steals second. Oh, but the throw from the catcher, Barnes, is off. Margot doesn't realize it until it's too late, but still decides to take off for third. Really was a Willie Mays Hayes moment. If you haven't seen Major Leagues, check it out after the season's over. It's a hilarious baseball movie about a small market team that overcomes the odds. Who knew? Margot gets all the way to third base. I was afraid they were going to call him out because of the way the game was going, but they call him safe. So you get basically another leadoff triple, or another triple, whatever. Man at third, no outs. He's the tying run. All right, baby. Maybe we can bump up Kershaw a little bit. Let's go. Renfroe walks. Okay. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Starts off 0-2, by the way, and walks. Great plate discipline from Renfroe. All right. Let's just get a pop fly, drive a man in, or whatever the case. Let's just keep it moving. Wendell pops out. A fastball, middle in. I thought lefties liked those. Pops it out to shortstop. 1 away. Adames. A slider, middle, fouls it off. Can't make solid contact. Takes a fastball. down and in, 0-2. Then chases the curveball down and away, strike 3. 2 gone. Kiermaier at the plate, fouls off a fastball, middle. Then takes a changeup well outside. And before the third pitch can get to him, Margot decides to steal home, apparently on his own judgment. I'm sure Rodney Linares probably had something to do with it, the third base coach. The throw was made just in time. Got a good jump, got a good break. Kershaw didn't notice it until I thought it was going to be too late. Oh my God, if he had stolen home, oh, what a series this could have been. Well, I can't say that. We still have a chance, but that would have been insane if that had gone that way. But Margot caught stealing home. End of the inning. Again, they had a runner at third with no outs. Doesn't score. You need to know anything else about the Rays not coming through with runners in scoring position. There it is. Runner at third, no outs, and no runs. Top of the fifth, how does Glasnow respond? Let's see. It's a one-run game still. Seager strikes out looking. Turner flies out, so you're getting the big boys. Max Muncy, a fastball middle, obliterates it. A nice little pimp job celebration on that thing, too. I guess there was some controversy about that. 434 feet to right. I mean, really watch that thing fly. 4-2 Dodgers. I mean, it was just crushed. And then he strikes out Smith to end the inning. Bottom of the fifth, Kershaw gets a shutdown inning. Gets Kiermaier to strike out, so it wouldn't have mattered even if Margot hadn't run, really. Zunino strikes out. Yandy Diaz grounds out. Pulls it, as we all know that he tends to do. At the end of 5, it's 4-2 Dodgers. Top of the 6th, Aaron Loop on. Gets so replaces Tyler Glasnow to face a couple lefties. Gets Bellinger to pop up. There you go. Taylor ground out. Walks Jock Peterson, and then they bring in Castillo to get the final out against the righty Austin Barnes, and he gets the out. So get the shutdown inning there. Bottom of the 6th, Kershaw remains on. Gets a Rosarena. Swings at a fastball, 89, up and in. That's a good pitch to swing at. Glad he finally attacked early in the count, but just grounded out on it. And then Lau on the first pitch popped up on another fastball. So they knew that that was what, the third time through? Yeah, they knew that they just had to attack early. Even though both those guys, I guess, no, Lau had not, but Rosarena had some success. Either way, Kershaw comes out at that point. Everyone's booing him because he could have gone through 7 innings tonight, most likely, with a pitch count. And fans were booing him. Dave and Andy on the radio were kind of criticizing the move. Dave Roberts, I guess, just manages off the chart, not the gut feeling. The numbers told him to take him out there. It would have been a righty on lefty with Margot. I don't know, whatever. They decided to take him out. Fine. They bring in the righty Dustin May, and they had actually hit him around pretty good in game 2, but more times than not, the pitches, with that velocity, with that movement, typically you're not going to get a lot of hits off of him, and he strikes out Margot, and the 6th, that's 4-2, still Dodgers. Top of the 7th, Castillo gets on, gets 3 more outs. Betts, Seager, Turner gets the 1-2-3 hitters. Pretty nice to see there. Bottom of the 7th, Meadows pinch hits for Renfroe. Strikes out swinging. Starts off 0-2. Then takes a fastball low for a ball. Fouls off a fastball middle. Takes a sinker low, 2-2. And then chases a sinker down and away for strike 3. Wendell comes up. A nice at-bat. 9 pitches. Starts off 0-2, by the way. Fouls off 4 pitches. A sinker down and away again, and should have been a double, but Jock Peterson made a nice running catch. So there you go. By the way, since 2008, Clayton Kershaw has the most strikeouts via the breaking ball in a single postseason. 1 more than Garrett Cole last year, a couple more than that legendary postseason for Madison Bumgarner, a few more than Patrick Corbin last year. So he had 4 of them in game 4. In Game 5, and he now, by the way, has the most strikeouts in postseason history. So what for Clayton Kershaw not being a good playoff pitcher? But I was just saying that because I had the Sports Center up on the monitor. Either way, Wendell lines out, 2 gone, and that was in a stretch where they just couldn't get a darn base runner to save their life, and then Adames flies out to right. Just a curveball, stayed in the zone, but just couldn't barrel it up well enough. At the end of 7, it was 4-2 LA, raised down to their final 6 outs. Sheriff comes on in the 8th. Meadows replaces Renfroe and right. Sheriff gets Muncy, Smith, and Bellinger. Not bad. It gets a couple of lefties in there, so good spot for him to come on. Another good World Series appearance for him. Feel really good for Ryan Sheriff. Bottom of the 8th, Dustin May remains on. Kiermaier, righty and lefty, leadoff single. A sinker up and away. And hits it the other way, actually. So that's pretty cool to see. Or no. Yeah, up and away. Yeah, that's the pitch he hit the opposite way. Setsugo hits for Zunino. I think what they were trying to do there was to try and trigger... they wanted to get Dustin May out of the game, clearly. They wanted to get the lefty Victor Gonzalez in there to get the lefty on lefty. And Cash had the leverage because he had Kiermaier on base and the tying run at the plate. If it was bases empty, 1 out. It wouldn't have mattered. Kevin Cash makes an attempt to try and get Victor Gonzalez in there, and credit to Dave Roberts. I guess he doesn't bite. He leaves in Dustin May for the righty on lefty because Setsugo can't hit high velocity even with the righty-lefty advantage. Takes a sinker low and in for ball 1. Then gets a sinker that catches a good amount of the plate but just can't square it up. Flies out to left for out number 1. Then... Yandy Diaz, the lineup turns back over, so it's a righty-on-righty matchup. Diaz against Dustin May. Kevin Cash hits G-Man Choi for Yandy Diaz to get the righty and lefty. So again, I mean, he is committed to getting Dustin May out of this ball game. And this time, David Roberts does bite, puts in the lefty Gonzalez, and then Kevin Cash, I think, chuckles to himself and puts in the righty Mike Brasso to keep the righty on lefty advantage and get Dustin May out of the game in the process. But you burn up a pinch hitter that maybe they could have had, but I thought it was the right move to make because Dustin May, I don't know. I'm hoping, I mean, we will see him at some point in this series, most likely. Game 6, Game 7, whatever the case. Victor Gonzalez comes in to face Brasso. By the way, Kiermaier gets the second on a wild pitch, so there you go. Brasso in a 9-pitch at-bat. Usually those go the right way in the postseason. He ends up walking. Just a really good at-bat. Fouled off 3 pitches. There you go. First and second, you got the tying run at first in the 8th. This was their spot. And you get your 2 guys, Arozarena and Lau, against a guy that's not great in Victor Gonzalez. Arozarena, he knew he was going to probably get a first pitch fastball, and he usually takes those, so he decided to swing at the first pitch, and that's the right decision. It ended up being a slider down and away, and but it wasn't a chase pitch for a strike, a swing and a miss. It was in the zone, so it ended up being a fly out. So catch a tough break there, and then Brenton Lau with 2 outs. The ball almost dropped, by the way. He gets another first pitch slider, strike 1 taken. Then gets a sinker middle in, and he bites on it. And it was just a nice running catch for Cody Bellinger. Extinguishes the threat. So Kevin Cash empties the bag. He knows that was his team's chance. And Arozarena, Lau, they just don't come through. That's it. Top of the 9th, Brasso moves to first. Perez catches. Thompson on, gets an easy inning. Taylor, Hernandez retires both of them. Kike was not in the starting lineup, though, so that was a pinch hit, I guess, unless ESPN usually gets these sometimes wrong. Either way, then he walks Austin Barnes and then strikes out Mookie Betts, so another nice appearance for Thompson. Of course, he'll be available after the off day, you would think. So, again, it's going to be an all-hands-on-deck situation for them, certainly. Bottom of the 9th, last chance for the Rays. Dodgers bring in Blake Trinan instead of Kenley Jansen or Pedro Baez or any other guys. I mean, Trinan is part of that eight bullpen. A righty to face a couple lefties, actually. Margot, leadoff single on a 1-0 count. Gets on to start the 9th inning. So there you go. You got a leadoff base runner. Can you do anything with it? Margot, again, has done a good job today to get up to start innings. and you get Meadows to get that righty on lefty advantage. Meadows takes a pitch low for ball 1, fouls off a couple pitches, and then on a 1-2 count, swings through a fastball high. He just climbed the ladder and was not able to make contact with it for out number 1. Then with 1 away, and again, Margot at first, he gets Trinan. You get another righty and lefty. Wendell, who has already popped out with a runner in scoring position, so already made an out in a big spot, makes another out in a big spot. On an 0-1 count, takes a cutter right down the heart for strike 1. Then gets the same pitch again and flies out to center. So there's out number 2. And then Adames against Trinan. 1-2 count. A sinker down and in. And just chases it. So that was the end of the ball game. To me, that situation in the 4th inning where you get a runner at third, nobody out, he needs to come across a score. And I think when you get 2 men on in the 8th and you have a Rosarena and you have Lau in the spot that you want and you don't get it, that hurts too. Bullpen did a good job of keeping the team in the game. I thought Glasnow really did a good job of kind of gutting out those innings. Again, 34 pitches, 2 runs in the first inning. How often does a guy end up getting through 5 and he only gave up 4 runs? It was a solo home run to Jock Peterson and a solo home run to Max Muncy. So the solo home runs have been a big bugaboo in this postseason for Tyler Glasnow, and it ends up getting him again. But either way, the pitching was good. You only give up 4 runs, and I think we have to kind of change our expectation right now of Rays pitching. Usually only 4 runs doesn't make sense because usually the Rays hold their opponents to less than that. But Dodgers team that could put up 6, 7, 8 runs, you hold them to 4. That's your chance to win, especially against the bullpen, and that didn't necessarily come to fruition. I like the way that they were able to get to Kershaw. They had a better approach. I think Kershaw kind of changed up his approach as well. That kind of was a bit to his detriment, but he still ends up getting the win. So either way, we will be on the air tomorrow. We'll call it 9 o'clock sharp. That's usually kind of our designated time when there's no game. I don't know how long we'll be on. I would love to maybe take some calls at that point, kind of get some of your guys' thoughts on what you'd like to see. I mean, I'll put the links in the various places. We had a guy that I'll actually give him a shout out because I'm familiar with him. Bucks Rays Bolts. He does. I know he's on YouTube and he what he does, he'll take the highlights of whether it's the Bucks, the Lightning, or the Rays, and instead of those dreaded national TV announcers, he'll actually put up the radio calls. And I'm big into the hometown radio call, so I've actually been able to utilize his some of his stuff for my for some of my monologue clips that I've done, because it's really because right there it's really easy and accessible to get the Dave and Andy calls. So, and he dropped me a line and made a nice comment about my show, and I appreciate that. So always appreciate it. But the point I was going to make on Twitter at WHBC Stream, definitely follow that because the link goes out on there whenever we go live. So definitely follow that. Again, we'll be on the air tomorrow at 9 o'clock Eastern for a full Game 6 preview, as the Rays won't be back in action until Tuesday night. So I'll get to kind of take a step back from this game, take a look at pitchers, take a look at matchups. If you're not going to be able to tune in tomorrow, I mean, just the basic premise of the game, it's going to be Blake Snell, who got through 4 2/3. He got like 4 2/3 hitless innings, I believe, and then he got roughed up pretty good. So I was disappointed. It seemed like I was the only one that had a problem with the start. I mean, just did not throw enough strikes. That's going to be frustrating in an elimination game. I can already tell you I'm going to be seething out of my seat watching that. But Blake Snell is Blake Snell. He's not going to throw a lot of strikes. He's going to try and strike everyone out. And most of his outs usually are strikeouts, which I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. But, the first World Series pitcher to strike out X amount of batters, whatever. He'll only get through 5, hopefully, and maybe give up a couple of runs. And then the bullpen, the stable is going to be ready. Like I said, with no series after this, you're going to be able to empty the tank. I think in Game 6 and a potential Game 7, Anderson, Castillo, and Fairbanks could all maybe give you multiple innings if you need. So I think, I don't know, I would feel relatively good, especially in Game 6 against Tony Gonsolin to open and then another bullpen day. the Dodgers don't have a good bullpen, and if they're doing a bullpen day, that's your chance to get runs and to lock down and set up a Game 7 with Morton v. Walker Buehler. So that's the outlook on the series. That's all I can tell you right now. The lineup that they did against Tony Gonsolin, I'm sure it'll stay the same. Meadows led off, Lau 2, Arozarena 3, G-Man Choi cleaned up, followed by Margot, Wendell, Adames, Kiermaier, Zanino. So pretty traditional stuff. 5 lefties, 4 righties, so maybe more balance. I think especially in a bullpen day, that makes the most sense to balance righties and lefties, but of course they can platoon. The bullpen for the Dodgers is mostly right-handed hitters, so you can put in some of those lefties later in the game if you want. And kind of move from there. So that's all I can say about it right now. Again, we'll be back tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern. Again, we'd love to take some calls. Again, at WHBC Stream is the Twitter. Appreciate everyone who tuned in tonight. Appreciate some people who left some positive feedback. That's always appreciated. It's been super fun doing these kind of post games. Been doing it all year. Depending on how things go, I'd love to do this next season in a full year. So yeah, this year's been a blast. We may get another game. We may get 2 more. Off day tomorrow. Again, the Rays are back in action on Tuesday night. So enjoy the Monday off. Maybe tune into the show if you can. We'll preview the contest in full. And as always, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.